I was around during the Wii era, and while the N64 already had its last game in 2002, I still had one myself, and I had only a few games for it, one of them being this game. And also, this isn't the same copy since I lost the old one, but still counts. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is an N64 game that was released in 2000, and is actually a port of the PS1 version. Additionally, this game is one of the later games in the console's library, which eventually led to the third game being released in North America in 2002, making it the last N64 game released. But this is about the first game, and while the third game holds up well on the GameCube, we aren't talking about that game today. So here's how I'm going to do this review. I have my N64, a controller, and the game. So naturally I'll use an emulator to get gameplay footage because I don't actually have a capture card. Okay, so starting up the game, we got intro logos and gameplay footage, a Far Cry from the PS1 and Dreamcast version's intro movie, and we get to the title. And you may be asking why the title is different from the cartridge label. Well, that is entirely because I am running the US 1.1 version of the game, because that is the version of the game I have on the N64. And for some fuck-all reason, they decided to change the game's title to the European version's title, which was changed to avoid confusion with skateboarding and ice skating. Okay, we get into the game and the controls, and about them. The controls are weird in this game, as they decided to exclusively use the C buttons, mimicking the layout they used in the PS1 version of the game, which is actually smart, because most N64 ports of PS1 games around this time are...
Yeah. You got it right!
meh. Also, we get the option to enable or disable the Rumble Pack, which is weird, because if you have one plugged in, then obviously you're going to, use it. Now we are at the customization screen, where we can change the depth, the wheel color, and the tightness of the turning, which is stupid because you will almost always go for the loose option. And about those stats, we'll get to them. Here we are at the level select screen, and I immediately go to the warehouse level, since that is the only one available by default. And we get to the gameplay screen. How this game works is simple. You use down C to ollie, you use right C or left C while in the air to do a grab trick or flip trick respectively. The basic objective is to do tasks to get footage for a skate video, and these involve two score objectives, the skate letter objective, the secret tape, and a level-specific objective, like hitting boxes, vandalizing police cars, and also grinding on tables. All of these objectives must be done within a restrictive 2-minute timer, and you will have to spend multiple runs just trying to get as many tapes as you can within the timer. And unless you are a god, or played this game for years, you will probably spend at least 100 runs just trying to get all the tapes. About the gameplay itself, you may be wondering why there is no blood, and that is really only because this was 90s Nintendo. If you remember their family-friendly policy or whatever the hell it's called that they had back around the 80s, that is why this game is censored. Even though we got games like MK4 and MK Trilogy, this game still got censored. After a few runs and getting enough tapes, I unlocked better stats, and this part will make or break your run through the career mode. The stats system is a system that is literally only designed so that you'll spend more time collecting tapes. You see, the strategy is that you want to get as many tapes as possible, and you get better stats and more decks as a result, which means you'll spend more time collecting tapes and actually getting to newer levels quicker, since you also have to earn medals to progress, but more on that later. After getting higher scores on the school level, I decided to use some specials, which are the defining feature of this game, and both are what defines each skater, and also makes or breaks your runs score-wise at any given time. Because it is easy to bail during these, and you will bail a lot during the course of the game, which takes off a metric fuck ton of time from the timer, because your skater is busy going through the bail animation, and mashing the C buttons to get up faster wasn't introduced until the second outing. Each skater has different specials, but really the only one that matters is the famous 900. One thing to know about special tricks is that they don't tell you how to pull them off, so either you have to search online for them because they don't tell you in-game, or pound the controller and hope you can pull off a special. And as for the instruction manual, I don't have one because the eBay listing we got the game off was the cartridge only, so I cannot tell if they have a command list for specials or some shit. The mall level is the first level that actually makes you learn how to play the game, because at this point you better be good at this game, or this game will absolutely destroy you. This is the first of 2 or so downhill levels, which the second one of these 2 is ironically Downhill Jam, but more on that stuff later. Here is the secret tape, right near this long rail line, and you better have learned about how this game's grind system works, because you don't get a grind meter, because they only introduced that in the 3rd game. So for the first 2 games, you don't deserve a meter for grinds. This tape took me a good amount of time to get when first playing this for the first time in years on the N64, but here on this emulator footage, I rocked the shit out of this tape. And yes, pan pizza, I do believe in miracles. How the fuck does this happen? Okay, so I made it far enough into this game to where I should save now. Hello, my name is Lol. Remove the rumble pack and start the controller pack in controller 1. Oh great, I forgot about this stupid system. For those who didn't experience the old systems from years 1994 to around 2003 or so, then I am glad for you, because you most likely did not have to experience these. I hate these plastic bits from hell. Well, in the sense that without it, you cannot save anything at all. Which for the PlayStation was understandable, because you cannot just write content to a CD that easily. But for the N64, hell no. It just came down to the manufacturers not wanting to spend money on an EEPROM, flash RAM, or save battery, and instead focusing on either making it so that you cannot save at all, or making you go out to the local Kmart and buying yourself a controller pack, aka the save method that you shove into the controller. I currently only have 3 games that require this hellish device to even save, that being this game, its sequel, and Namco Museum 64. But back to subject, I have to constantly switch between the rumble pack and this third-party controller pack that gets caked onto this jungle green controller, causing me to have to awkwardly use all my strength to launch this damn thing out. But on emulator, I just have to switch the controller options. Back to the game now. Here's the first competition level, which takes place in skate park in Chicago. Competition levels are different from normal levels in the sense that instead of taking clips for a skate video, you instead have to impress the judges by doing the usual stuff that you do in this game, which is spamming specials and hitting insane gaps and tricks. While the first game states that bales do hurt the scores for the current heat, this won't hurt you in the first 2 competition levels unless you screw up big time. I decided to just end the competition without doing the 3rd heat because I knew I would win, and I did win. Next up is the streets level, and this is where we see the cars that drive around recklessly hoping to run you over. But too bad for you, because I didn't get run over a single time in this playthrough. What I essentially did here was just take a few runs to get more tapes to unlock more levels, because this is the entire game. And this is my life now. But there was something interesting: advertisements. And lots of them. So much that if I had an AdSense account, then I would have put a mid-roll here. But since I don't have AdSense, I won't put a mid-roll here. I did it. I finally hit the 900, and this is an accomplishment because this is one of the hardest and longest specials in the entire game. We get to the halfway point, and now we are at Downhill Jam, which is the best level in terms of looks in this entire game. This is the second of 2 downhill levels, and this is the last of them. Here is the most trial and error tape in the entire game for me, and that is because I cannot find where to launch up to get the tape in the downhill level, but also because this game becomes a platforming game that controls like absolute crap because you either have to use the plastic joystick that has a weird speed of moving it, and also gives calluses to children, or the D-pad that has no analog control. I am not saying that the game is fully at fault, it's just that the control is only made for. Another thing is the letter E, which is placed in the most inconvenient place ever in this level, causing like 70% of the players to leave to do something else. But I am not in the 70%, I'm going to beat this game. After getting the skate letters, I decided to grind points and point multipliers since I needed more of the tapes for the level. Now we are at the second competition level in Burnside, which involves the exact same gameplay as the last one, just in a harder and wider environment, and the judgment system is just harder this time. There's not too much to note here. Here is the last level, the streets level, and this level is absolutely the hardest of the levels, to the point where I gave up on the other tapes and just got the amount that I could, because I didn't actually spend much time in this level, and that is because I decided to backtrack to the downtown level, and that was to get the final tape in the level and unlock the final level in the game. The final level is the competition level, which is in Roswell, You know, the place that had aliens or something, I don't know. While the final level is kind of a last hurrah for this game, this level is absolute hell to play, as you must do insanely well or instantly lose and have to try again. Wait, what the f- Also, on a quick side note, this is not in the script, but I actually did beat this game on the N64 without cheats, so... I eventually said fuck it and used cheat codes to get a 10 times multiplier to my score, and absolutely curb stomped the competition. Cool, the game is completed, and we get treated to the credits. Now that I've gotten the main story out of the way, I can talk about the game in detail. Since I am playing this on the N64, there are probably 1,000 or so differences from the classic PS1 and Dreamcast versions, which was because of the fact that Edge of Reality had to port the game from the PS1 version to the N64, which meant interpreting code and other shit to make it even slightly usable on the console. Most people think that this is the worst version of the game because the blood is gone, the music has been cut down to the absolute bare minimum, and also some other censorship, but honestly I think that this version is the best to play, but that is honestly because it is what I grew up with. But also because the N64 is a console with an absolutely incredible lineup of games. What I am saying is that this game isn't as bad as you may think. Yeah, it aged pretty poorly compared to Underground for the GameCube, but it still is fun to play. So until the next time where I review Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which I also have for the N64, I will take my leave.
Load a Rumble Pack and see how it feels when 007 meets N64.
Game console and Nintendo 64 game system. Play with all of Tigger's friends and help collect
Nintendo 64, for people who put golf above all else.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.